heart is claret and blue, my blood runs in my veins is claret and blue. But this club has destroyed the soul. And David Sullivan is the man that has destroyed the soul of this club.
Ooh, that is a sample then of some of the West Ham fans. West Ham failing to ease the pressure on their manager, Julian Lopetegui, as they played out an uneventful goalless draw at home to Everton. With his position under threat then, Lopetegui hopes the international break can be the chance for his players to regroup and improve.
We keep on positive thing, despite we didn't do one good first half. We were able to keep the focus and to have one clean sheet. It's important to work with clean sheet. And okay, I can sign to have one clean sheet and to have 4-5 very clear chances each match. They have, I remember, one chance, one head with Lucas Fabianski was good, but no more. So, but was not enough. We have to improve a lot of things, but all the teams have to improve, and we are not one exception for sure.
Oh, Cass, it's been very difficult for Julian Lopetegui. And we were hearing from some of the West Ham fans. And actually, Steve, the West Ham fan, has been in touch this morning. Thank you very much for your text, Steve. He says he loves the show, by the way, but that's the only positive, really, from his text, because he says, I was a season ticket holder for 40 years at Upton Park. I did all the away games too, but I've never set foot in the London Stadium and never will. I still do away games, though. It's the owners we have to blame and has been for years. They want Harrods players on little prices, he says. What do you think is going wrong at West Ham?
Well, I mean, I've seen them 3 times live. I talked about this yesterday, and I come away thinking goals against column's going to be high. The midfield is just too easy to bypass. They're going to be reliant on what Bowen does, because he's a good player and gets goals. Plays that right side, does that really well. Kudos is out for a number of games. He's probably West Ham's best player. I think Paqueta is a bit of a nightmare because he just can't get going. And I don't think, we look at him as a player with his ability, absolutely, but he doesn't get around the pitch. There's too many goals. The Forest performance really would have been concerning for me, as in watching them and thinking how easily they dispatched West Ham. Yeah. They really did. It was so comfortable. And, we talk about the games and points they've got on board. They really were second best to Man United. Could have been out the game at half-time. And it was a dreary 0-0 draw. Okay, Pickford pulled off a couple of saves. I think they hit the post, didn't they? Somerville hit the post.
That's right.
It's going to be a tough season. That's without doubt.
Well, let's bring
Do you think, here's a question for you, right? Do you think along the way that when the David Moyes scenario came about, that the club have had discussions with him and it's all ended and said they're going to go a different direction, they might have said, well, we might be calling you by Christmas, David?
Well,
do you think that might have happened? I mean, it's hypothetical, but...
Oh, I'm not sure. Well... I mean, you never say never, because you never know what goes on with David Sullivan. But I'm just not sure that David Moyes would even... The idea of someone saying to him, just, by Christmas...
Well, they've done that once.
No, I know, but by Christmas... Hang around, because by Christmas we might need you. I just can't see that happening. But
there was a manager in France called Guy Roux who managed at Auxerre. Sorry, just a quick one on this, because... He kept going back to Auxerre because they kept needing him. Every time they got rid of him, he got another guy got him back to save them.
Funnily enough, Will Pugh, of course, a friend of the show, a Sun journalist, I was speaking to him about David Moyes, and he was saying very much would welcome David Moyes 3.0. So never say never. You don't know what will happen. He is currently out of work. But let's bring in another West Ham fan's perspective on all of this. Someone that knows Will very well as well. It's podcaster James Jones. James, good morning. How you doing?
Hi, James.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm okay. You?
Yeah, good, thank you.
All right. I suppose the first question, bear in mind what we were just talking about, should be is, would you welcome back David Moyes, or do you think you've got to stick with Lopetegui?
Well, me and Will have been at odds all season on this. I wouldn't take him back. I think there's this weird feeling at the moment that everyone believes that David Moyes is the only man to be able to ever bring success to West Ham. There's no denying the success he had over the 4 years at the club, but surely there are other managers out there that can bring success to West Ham United.
I would say to that, James, that it's not a case of bring success to West Ham. I think when you go a different direction, you seem to get yourself in a pickle and you end up looking like a team that'll be fighting relegation. And that becomes ultimately a different goal for the owners, because obviously that financial cost is huge. So it's not... I totally agree. There's always someone else out there. You know, it doesn't have to be David Moyes, but there feels like you're going to have to fall back, because that was why I was mentioning Auxerre and Giroud in France, because he was there for so many times that because every time that he went, it all went wrong. They had to keep turning back to get the club back on track.
Yeah, no, I get that and I understand that. I think, you know, the club have made I think that the club have made a mistake with the Lopetegui appointment. You know, not every single appointment at every single club is a success. Maybe this is one, but maybe the next one's the right one. Maybe it takes 2 or 3 appointments before they get it right again. So yeah, it's a difficult one, because, you know, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was still in the camp of, you know, got to give him time. But the Forest defeat was, for me, the one that really led to me going, I'm not too sure I can find any more excuses for him, because it was just such a terrible performance and a terrible result. And yes, okay, we didn't lose yesterday against Everton, but like, the football wasn't great. It wasn't exciting. You know, that's one of the main reasons why fans wanted David Moyes to go, is because yes, it wasn't fun to go and watch every single week. And yesterday against Everton, it wasn't either, really. It was just really drab, and there was just no bite to it. There's nothing to get up for, no excitement. So I don't really know where we turn from here, but it's clearly not Lopetegui. There is another manager out there that can deliver the kind of success that David Moyes did, no doubt. But I don't know. It's a head scratcher, massive head scratcher.
Just sticking on the Lopetegui situation for now, in terms of his best 11, do you think he even knows who his best 11 is?
No, I think that the Forest defeat is the clear evidence of that. You know, the second half against Man United, yes, we were fortunate to win that game. But in that second half, we were a lot more balanced. He made 3 changes at half time, and we were a lot better. And Man United found it a lot harder to break us down. And so everyone went, right, well, that's your 11 in that second half. That's your 11 to go into the Forest game. Play that same 11. I know Souček ended up being unwell, so he couldn't play. But just one change. Just otherwise, keep it the same. Keep it the same formation and go again. And instead, he made 3 or 4 changes and changed the formation. And I think it was the same formation he played that lost to Chelsea 3-0. And then they goes to lose to Forest 3-0. So I don't think he knows. Yesterday, it was a little bit more settled. He didn't make any changes at half time for the first game in a while. But I don't know. I still think he's still trying to work it out. But after, 11 Premier League games, he should know by now what his best 11 is.
It's a really tough one, because I understand where James's point is, that you go and find a guy, you know, if Brighton can do it and can do it on a regular basis, and Brentford have done it as well, and there are other clubs that they can find guys that change the direction of the club and give fans, you know, a type of football that they really enjoy, because the bottom, you know, it is an entertainment business, you know, and I understand all of that. And probably, James, how much are you against the owners? Because that's one of the biggest things of their influence on your football club.
Well, I mean, over the last 4 years, there's not been a bad word to say about the owners, because it's all been going well and it's been going fine. It always seems to be that the moment there's any sign of unrest or things not going well, then the focus immediately goes back onto the owners. Yes, they're not perfect. David Sullivan's not perfect. They've made a lot of mistakes. You know, everyone keeps going back to the stadium move, and was it right? Was it not? Is it a football stadium? Is it not? But the fact is that he's backed the managers. He backed David Moyes. David Moyes spent a lot of money over 4 years. Lopetegui spent close to 150 million quid in the summer.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's not like the owners have scrimped and saved and haven't spent the money. It's like they've bought the players that managers need, and you know, we've got some world-class players in that squad. Yeah. So yes, they're not perfect. But at the same time, you know, you mentioned Brighton there. Brighton are a very, very well-run football club. You know, we're a well-run football club, just with an added bit of chaos in between. And you know, yes, we can keep blaming the owners, but we have to start also looking at the people that are actually there making the decisions on the pitch. And obviously, at the moment, that's Lopetegui. So I don't really know. It's not all David Sullivan's fault. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Very, very quickly, James. Then, as you mentioned, we're very much under the impression that you don't think Lopetegui is the man then to take West Ham forward. If there was a manager that you'd say, right now, we reckon he's the one to do the job, could you put your name or put that name in the hat?
No, I can't. I mean, this has been a dilemma of mine for the last few weeks. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying Graham Potter's free, he'd be a good one, but he was only successful under at Brighton because of it was, no chaos in a well-run football club. He went to Chelsea, which is a very similar run club in terms of chaos, and it didn't work for him.
Mm-hmm.
So will it work for him at West Ham? I don't know, but I really don't know what the answer is. I don't know who the manager is that can come in and be as successful as David Moyes and more. But yeah, there has to be someone else out there. It can't always be David Moyes has got to come in and save us.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.